Hello everyone, Reverend Cole here from Selkirk United Church with another midweek message. It is March 17th today, 2021, St. Patrick's Day. I've already talked about St. Patrick's Day in my Questions for Cole episode for today, so check that out if you haven't already. For midweek, first a huge thank you to all of those who helped make our latest drive-by roast beef dinner a huge success. I don't have numbers yet, but I do know that we sold out, that we've had lots and lots of wonderful comments, and that the volunteers and organizers all did a fantastic job. So thanks so much to everyone involved. Also, a few of us joined Steinbach United Church this past Sunday for their online worship service and chat afterwards, in which they celebrated officially becoming an affirming church within the United Church of Canada. It was a great service and a real celebration. We wish them all the best as they continue the journey. Some of us were talking within the last week or so in our Lenten Reflections group about the idea that God doesn't give us more than we can handle. I have to say that for myself, I've never liked that idea theologically, especially due to the fact that I've seen people really struggle with life in a way that kind of proved that whatever they were dealing with, they couldn't seem to handle it at the moment. But our conversation this past week was a really good one about this subject. And one of the ideas that was tossed around was that maybe there is some truth in that saying after all, because the saying is, God doesn't give us more than we can handle. So maybe we're meant to realize that the terrible things in life that all of us deal with from time to time don't come from God at all. God's not their source. They are just life. So the things that come from God are the positive things, the blessings. That's an interesting thought. Let's keep exploring that idea. I think it's worth doing some more thinking about. Anyway, for today, I wanted to share with you another person's thoughts about this topic. A few days after our discussion in our Lenten Reflections group, I found this article online written by Dr. Benjamin Corey, who is a theologian and a professor at Fuller Theological Seminary in California. The title of his article is "To Those Christians Who Say God Doesn't Give Us More Than We Can Handle." Here's what he has to say in the article. He writes, "So when someone is going through a really hard time, you've been known to say, God doesn't give us more than we can handle from time to time. You mean well, I get it. You're trying to encourage and comfort, and certainly your intent is good. Back in the day, I said that as well. When people are going through a difficult and painful life chapter, it can make those on the peripheral of a painful story deeply uncomfortable. It's hard to watch others who are hurting, and it's even harder knowing that we might not have any real solutions that would lessen their pain or improve their plight. So we appeal to the mysterious when all things tangible come up empty. God doesn't give us more than we can handle somehow flows from the lips of the one who wants to comfort, but who subconsciously knows nothing will. But here's the problem. Those words aren't actually comforting to us the way you hope or intend them to be. So here's a few reasons why many of us who are experiencing painful life chapters would really like you to please stop saying this to us. First up, this quote is a twisting of Scripture. The actual verse in reference, 1 Corinthians 10:13, is actually referencing temptation to sin and says that God will not place us in a situation where a temptation to do wrong is irresistible, but will always give us a way of escape. Essentially, it's a verse that puts the responsibility for our own sinful choices on ourselves and reminds us that none of us are locked into making a sinful decision. Instead, it's a verse that reminds us we are capable of not doing the things we shouldn't do. None of this has anything to do with the heaping, painful burdens and sadness of life. Not even close. Second, when you use this phrase in hard moments, it makes it sound as if all the horrible things in our life came from God. Can you pause for a moment and imagine how that might feel to us? When you use the words God and gives, in the sentence that way, what we hear is, God gave the cancer. God caused the car accident. God took the child. God sparked the fire or blew in the hurricane. God gave you this horrible pain. Please consider that what you're telling us, and in the midst of our despair no less, is that the very things that make us question if we'll wake up breathing tomorrow are all things that God somehow did to us. Instead of being the one safe place we can turn for comfort and solace, you turn God into the ultimate source of all of our pain and sorrow. When you say that God did this, even subtly or unintentionally, you take away the one thing so many of us desperately need, the comfort of God, and to be comforted knowing that this wasn't God's doing. Think about it. If someone gave you a black eye and a busted lip, would that person be the one you'd want to seek for comfort? No. We need to know God sees our hurt, that God feels it, that God empathizes with it, and that God grieves with us. We'd like to know you do too. But we can't experience those things in the same moment that some well-meaning person is telling us that God gave us this unbearable pain. Besides conveying the subtle but destructive belief that God gave us these wounds, what I'd really like you to know is that saying God won't give us more than we can handle usually happens in a moment when it feels like what we're facing actually is more than we can handle. This is incredibly invalidating in a moment when what we actually need most is to feel seen and to have our pain recognized. For the one who has had to say a final goodbye to their own child, that painful chapter of life feels like it's more than we can handle. For some parents, and certainly some marriages, it actually is more than what can be handled. For the one who lost their home and every last belonging, for the one who just got the diagnosis they never imagined they'd receive, for the one who is in the darkest of nights, even when the sun is beating down with a fierce heat, having the burden of those life-sucking moments dismissed by being told God isn't giving us more than we can handle, is pretty much dead last on the list of things we need to hear. But like I said at the beginning, I know you mean well and your heart is in the right place. So let me offer an alternative. Just be with us. Sit, listen, pass a tissue, offer a hug. This was written before the pandemic, by the way. Be okay with uncomfortable silence. And yes, you can offer encouraging words too, just not those words, please. If your intention is to remind us that we're strong, then by all means remind us we're strong. Remind us of the times in our life when you've witnessed our strength. Remind us of the qualities that are good and right about us. Remind us of the things that are true about us. Remind us that you care and that you're here for us, that you're here to just be with us through it all. Remind us that we're not alone in this dark place. But please, just please, don't tell us that God won't give us more than we can handle, because those words don't do for us what you intend them to do. That was from Dr. Benjamin Corey from Fuller Theological Seminary. I really like the theological idea that God doesn't actually give us any of the tragedies or pain of life. God creates us for joy and for love and for blessings. And yes, terrible things do happen in life. That's just part of living in this world. But God is on our side through all of that, leading us up out of the valleys and through the messes and the tragedies, guiding us to find hope and peace again. That's the God that I believe in. As always, if you have thoughts or comments on this topic or anything else that I've talked about, I'd love to hear them. You can send them to me by email to cole@selkirkunitedchurch.ca. And that's all for this week. Thanks for tuning in and blessings on the week ahead. See you next time.